Hello, welcome to Afrique Today. My name is Alain Pierre and I'm glad to be here on Afrique Today. And like yesterday, we keep going with this conversation, and I have with me now live from Maryland, Dr. Shingi. She will be the host today. Now, before I take her live, I would like to remember that a lot of people ask me how to watch Afrique Today. Is very simple. You can just watch Afrique Today directly. Go to www.afriquetoday.com. You can also watch that on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, using Afrique Today app. Afrique Today already available on Smart TV. Hey, Dr. Shingi, if you listen to me, how are you today?
I'm good, Alain, and it's Shingi, not Doctor.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great, Shingi. I'm glad to be here today with you. And what we will talk today about?
All right. Good evening, and welcome to the second edition in a series of virtual discussions brought to you by the Immigrant Community Services in partnership with Montgomery County Business Portal, Wafamba Portal Consulting, and of course you, Alain, with Afrique TV. And this is a platform where we bring you critical resources and information as the world deals with the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you said earlier, my name is Shingi Mangwiro, and I'm honored to be your host and moderator today. And I also want to warmly welcome a very good colleague who many of you in Montgomery County may know. Our guest is Daniel Koroma. He's the Business Liaison Officer of Montgomery County.
Thank you so much for having me.
So today we're going to be discussing the Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant, and a lot of states, the federal government, have been giving relief to people affected, especially business owners affected by COVID-19. So Daniel, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And for people who are new, let me tell you a bit about Immigrant Community Services and what we do. Immigrant Community Services is an organization serving the African communities in the Washington, D.C. metro. And it's based out of Montgomery County. ICS was established in 2012 in response to the exponential growth of African immigrants in the county and the need for multicultural support to the African community. And ICS works to support refugee and immigrant communities through culturally specific programs such as these that help them thrive and become more successful contributors to society. And ICS offers a broad range of social, family, employment, education, and cultural programs to the African and other immigrant communities in Montgomery County and surrounding areas. I know that's a mouthful of the services that we do. And you can always get more information on the website, imiserve.org. And our discussion today, as I said earlier, it's a second in a series and falls under the Economic Development Program. And as I said, we have Daniel Koroma, who's the Business Liaison Officer for Montgomery County in the state of Maryland. His work in the Office of the County Executive, he does a lot of things. He wears many hats, but what we're going to be specifically talking about today is his work in the County Executive Office that focuses on assisting companies doing business in or with Montgomery County government. So he manages the award-winning Montgomery County Business Portal, a gateway to information on how Montgomery County interacts with the business community. I hope I got it right, Daniel.
Absolutely, you got it exactly right. And thank you so much again for hosting this event.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And Daniel, in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of information on financial assistance for small businesses, but many of the small businesses are not sure what this assistance is or if they even qualify. Could you please explain to our viewers what Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant, PHEG program entails?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me thank you and thank Afrique Today. Let me thank Immigrant Community Services for helping us reach to our constituents who are here in Montgomery County, our businesses, our nonprofits. We know these are very unusual times, given all the things that are happening. And we know that it's been very challenging for many of our small minority businesses and ethnic nonprofits. So it was to this light that the county government stood up $20 million to help businesses and nonprofits that are in the county. We know that's a lot of money, but it's also not enough when we look at the scale at which businesses and nonprofits are impacted right now when it comes to the COVID-19. So just a little bit about the program, and the website was put up a few minutes ago. And I believe you guys will also share the website so that you can go there. It's a public website, and we've made it available and translate the infographics that we've developed into the top 6 languages that are spoken here in Montgomery County. So when you go, you'll be able to find information in French, in Amharic, in Chinese, in Spanish, in Vietnamese, and in Korean. The program, again, as I say, the amount that was set aside for businesses and nonprofits is $20 million out of the large package that was passed by the county council. And part of that $20 million, what we did, we looked at some of the programs at the state and federal level and see those who may have been excluded from those programs, and we incorporated into our Montgomery County program. So as a result of that, if you are a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, you are eligible to apply for our program. If you are a nonprofit, you are eligible to apply for our program. And then, of course, all the other registered entities like corporation, limited liability company, limited liability liability partnership, and all those are all eligible to apply. In the legislation that was passed, the county government mandated that businesses and nonprofits can apply for up to $75,000. And in addition to that, there's an additional $2,500 that nonprofit and for-profit businesses can apply for in order for them to do telework. It could be by telework hardware or telework software. So that being said, again, $20 million is the total, and the eligibility amount is up to $75,000. Then in addition to that, an additional $2,500. So the program went live yesterday. The application itself went live yesterday. We've been doing lots of outreach. And again, this is part of the outreach process as well, because the way we have developed the executive regs is not a first come, first serve. So which means that just because somebody applies first does not mean that they get to get the funding first. It's based on the eligibility. So let me go through some of the criteria. Your principal place of business has to be here in Montgomery County, or if you have 50% or more of your employees working in Montgomery County, then you are eligible to apply. And again, the program was set up for businesses and nonprofits that have 100 or fewer employees. So therefore, those who have more than 100 employees are not eligible to apply. But for businesses and nonprofits that have 100 and fewer employees, they are eligible to apply. Well, again, you have to demonstrate that you have a significant decline in revenues. And what we need for you to show is we need financials, because that's the only way we can get a historical fact about the business finances. And then we looked at the current to determine the decline in revenues. So we're asking for 2 years of taxes. If you have not filed your 2019, that's okay. Just provide your 2018 and your 2017 taxes. If you are a nonprofit, then you need to provide your 990s, so 2017 and 2018 990. If you are a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, you just need to provide your Schedule C, not the entire personal tax return that you file, or just the Schedule C, that's what you need to submit. In addition to one of those that I've just went through, then you need to provide, if you file, interim financials, you need to provide that. Or you can just give us a monthly P&L statement, a profit and loss statement. And there are many accounting softwares that could actually generate that. And when you provide that to us, then what we're looking at the year-over-year revenues. And then from there, we will take the top line of that and then average it. And then that will give us our monthly, in terms of your monthly revenues. And then we'll compare it with the P&L statement or the interim financials for January and February. And then in March, we'll see the dip in terms of the loss that you've incurred because of COVID-19. And then we will determine, okay, based on that decline in revenues, you're eligible for this amount. And that's the amount that we basically try to grant to the business or the nonprofit. To make this fast, because our goal is to get the money to businesses and nonprofits really fast. We've determined that those who are eligible, the first $10,000, we're going to grant them immediately. Okay. So that those funds could be in their business account, or if they are a sole proprietor, in that account that they have. If it could be their personal account, if they're nonprofits, their nonprofit account. Because we need to make sure we get the money out as soon as possible. So let me stop there for now. I think maybe if there are additional questions, I can take that. And from there, if we go to the website, I can show in terms of where people need to go to apply, but also some of the, we have a sample of the application online as well for people to look at all the questions that are on the form, and they can fill out the form before they go live to the page and submit their applications.
Okay. All right. So I had had a bit of technical difficulty there, but since I'm back online. So my question, Daniel, you mentioned we want to talk about eligibility and making sure that the right people apply and that people are fully equipped with the right information that they need. You mentioned that you need to submit your financials for at least 2 years. How about somebody who started their business, say, in June of 2019? Is that person eligible?
That's a great question. And the answer to that question is yes, you are eligible. So even though you don't have 2 years of financials, then what we'll look for is if you have, let's say, your quarterly filings, you can submit that, and then also your profit and loss statement for each month. And then also, if you have fewer than 5 employees, you can actually submit your bank statements, because that would also give us a record of your monthly revenues as well.
Okay, and say for example, you are a sole proprietor, you do nails or you do hair, and you're not really registered because you file your taxes on your 1040 tax return. Would you also be eligible to apply for this grant?
The answer to the question is yes, because what happens is that sole proprietors are not required to register with the state, except if you have a DBA, then you can go and do, for example, Daniel Koroma doing business as ABC, right? So you can. So then then you need to register. But just as a sole proprietor, you're not required to register with the state. So therefore, yes, you can apply. But then what we would look for again, sole proprietors and independent contractors, what they do is that they file a Schedule C in their personal taxes. So part of the personal tax filings that they do, because they have to separate the business income from the personal income, that's where that is recorded, and that's the Schedule C we're looking for in their personal tax filings. They don't have to give us the entire personal taxes, but you just need to take out the Schedule C, and that's what we look at. If they give us 2 years of that, then we're able to establish a baseline in terms of their gross revenue when it comes to their business revenues, and then we can then compare that with the P&L or the bank statement they provide to give us the last 2 months of revenues, so we can then measure that to determine the loss in revenues for the month of March.
Okay, all right, sounds good. And tell us more about the Montgomery County Business Portal. and other resources. Maybe some people may be spread out in the county. What other resources or what other organization can they get this information or even the application for the application to qualify for the grant?
Sure. So if we go to the website, again, all what I just discussed is right there, is in the middle of the web page. And so we've numbered them. Number 1 is eligibility. Number 2 is what people need to prepare to, what they need to, the document they need to collect in order for them to apply. And then number 3 is the application itself. So when somebody clicks on the application, basically it asks for basic business information. And that's if you scroll down a little bit, scroll down all the way down to number 3. Again, once you provide that, then we're also going to ask you in terms of the intended use of the funds, in terms of when, if you're eligible and we're giving you the money, what is it that you're going to use the money for? Are you going to use it for to pay your rent in terms of the business rent? Are you going to pay your utilities, the business utilities? Are you going to pay, if you have a payroll, are you going to do payroll? So we'll ask for that, and you'll give us percentages in terms of how you would use the fund.
Okay.
The good thing is, as I say, on the right-hand side of the application, and that's if you go all the way back up, you will see where it says sample. You'll see where it says English form sample, and where it says application from translation. You are able to actually click on that. That's the PDF version of the entire application. And as I say, what people have done is some people have been able to print that out and fill it out and then come back online and fill out the online version, because you're not able to submit the PDF, but at least you know all the questions that are on the online version, so that it'll be easy for you to then come and fill them out.
Mm-hmm. All right. And for people watching from home or wherever you are, you can always visit, you can always post your questions on Facebook, on the Immigrant Community Services Twitter, and the handle is @IMIServe. So we look forward to having your questions. It's @IMMISERV. So post your questions so that Daniel can be able to address those. And Daniel, has the application opened? How long is it open for? Can you answer to that?
Yes, that's a good question. So yes, the application opened yesterday, and we don't have a deadline on the application. The reason for that is that we want to make sure as many people as possible, as many businesses as possible, as many nonprofits as possible are able to apply, because as I said earlier, it's not a first come, first serve. So which means that you may apply in the beginning and you are eligible. You may apply in the middle and you're eligible. You may apply at the end, you're eligible. So that's why we don't have an end date on the application. So we're encouraging everybody, but just be mindful. As I said, the total amount of funds that have been made available is $20 million. It is a lot of money, but it's really not a lot of money when we look at the scale at which some businesses have been impacted. So therefore, again, if you know anyone who is an independent contractor, anyone who is a small business owner, anyone who owns a nonprofit here in Montgomery County, please encourage them to go to the website and for them to prepare and then apply.
All right. And another question on eligibility and who qualifies.
So my question was, will faith-based organizations, say for example, you're a church owner, will you be able to qualify for this grant? Because we want to identify all the businesses and not leave anyone out. So they're faith-based organizations. Are those eligible to apply? And know some people have just volunteers and they don't have employees working for them. Are they eligible for this?
And that's a great question, because, and I'm also happy you asked that question, because I know faith-based organizations were not able to apply for certain programs, other programs. But to answer your question, yes, faith-based organizations that are 501c3 are eligible to apply, and they need to provide exactly the same financials that we just discussed, because that's how we're going to determine the significant loss in revenues that they have faced.
Okay, sounds good. And is the money restricted in terms of the purpose that it can be used for, or you can use it for any purpose that you see fit as a business owner?
That's an amazing question. So no, we don't have any restrictions on the funds. However, that's why we again are allowing businesses and nonprofits to tell us the intended use of the funds. Because what we're looking for is that, for example, if you've applied for maybe a federal program, a state program, let's say you apply for the federal program, and that the federal funds you're going to use for towards payroll, then our funds can then go towards rent.
Okay.
Let's say you applied for the state funds and you get the state funds and you want to use the state funds towards rent, and our funds can then go towards utilities. So we don't have any restrictions in terms of how you use it, but the only thing is that you cannot use our funds for the same purpose for which maybe the state or the federal governments, if they give you any funds.
Okay, so which brings me to another question. So you can apply, so this is totally separate if you're getting other types of funding, because I know a lot of government, local government, the county, the cities are providing relief to their residents. So can you apply for a multitude of these types of grants, or are you, once you apply for one, you don't qualify for anything else?
So the answer to your question is yes. In fact, we're encouraging all our businesses and nonprofits to apply for multiple programs. At the end of the day, as I say, our program is 20 million. It is a lot of money, but it wouldn't, as I say, given the scale at which the disruption is right now in terms of business activities, if you can get money from anywhere that would help you stay in business or help you run your nonprofit, please go ahead and apply. It does not disqualify you from applying to our program.
Okay, and we have a question from somebody, one of our viewers. So the question is, what happens if you run out of funds before your application is approved? So I'll add to that question. How long is the approval process? What if you run out of funds before it's been approved?
So that's a good question. And so right now, again, as I say, we have a high demand, and we're working through each application in terms of review and the approval. Now, we know the funds are going to be exhaustive. However, I mean, we know that there are conversations in the county council in terms of adding more money to the fund. However, as I say, we cannot, determine when they do that, and that's why we're not closing the application, because remember, this thing started yesterday. So right now we're not out of funds yet. Let me just say that. So that's why I'm here tonight, and I'm doing many other conversations and webinars to encourage anyone who is watching us to please go, again, make sure you're prepared, because I don't want to say go and apply, because it's not, if you apply fast, you get the money, you're eligible. No, you have to prepare and then get all the financials that needs to be to support in terms of your application, and then apply. As I said, those who applied in the beginning, some of them may be eligible and some may not be eligible. Some of them who apply in the middle, like this is the second day of the program. There might be some people who apply maybe at the end of the month. They may still be eligible if we have funds. The question is not when you apply, are you eligible for the program? So I will encourage everyone that have incurred a significant decline in revenues. If you live in Montgomery County, you are an independent contractor, you are a sole proprietor, you are a nonprofit, you are a business, please apply.
All right. And people always think, there's no such thing as free money. Can you address that? Does somebody have to pay taxes on this money later? Do they have to repay it back to the county?
So that's a good question. Now, these are public funds, so these are taxpayer funds. So which means that there's transparency in these funds. What I mean by that is that if once you are granted the funds, the name of the entity, so it could be the nonprofit or for-profit business, will be published, because it's public information, but also the amount that they receive from the county government will also be published. And this is not anything new. This is something that we've done for any entity that have received funds from the county government, because it's public funds. So the public need to know those who get money from the government. And then secondly, you also agreeing that the county will audit your financials to show that what you applied for, the purposes for your application, was indeed fulfilled. For example, if you said that you are going to use this money for operational expenses, we want to make sure that it was used for that. So that's what that audit will basically be. It wouldn't be anything other than that. It's just to show that indeed the application that you submitted and which is based on why you were approved. Then at the end, you're able to say, okay, yes, this is how I use the funds, and so we will be able to give account to the public for the use of those funds. So indeed, there's no free money. However, this is taxpayers' money, and many who are doing business here in the county, the independent contractors, sole proprietors, they all pay taxes. Businesses all pay taxes. So this is your money that is coming back to you, but there's an accountability piece because it's public. This is public dollars, which demands us to make the information public as well.
All right. And again, if you're watching, you can always go to our Twitter. It's at EmiServe. You can go on our Facebook page at EmiServe, or you can visit the website, emiserve.org. So send in your questions. If you have any other questions regarding the Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant. And there's so many other resources. I'm actually looking at the Montgomery County website right now. You can always look at the Q&A, because there are always questions. Someone, as soon as we hang up, someone will have a call, a question that they forgot to ask about. Another question that's here is, say you're an Uber driver or a taxi driver. So I just want to make sure we address all types of employment to make sure as many people apply for this as possible. People like Uber drivers, taxi drivers who, just do this on the side, can they also apply?
Yes, if you're an independent contractor, if you're a sole proprietor, yes. So Uber drivers that are independent contractors, sole proprietors, yes, they are eligible to apply.
All right. And someone asked, my program is not registered as a business, but I pay my taxes every year. I think we talked about that. Maybe you can answer that again. Will I be able to apply for this grant?
So again, depending on the entity type, again, the only entities that are not required to register in the state of Maryland, if you are a faith-based organization, you're not required to register as an entity, or if you're a sole proprietor. So hopefully you're one of those two, because if not, then you should have made sure that you register and also and be paying taxes. So except if you are, again, a sole proprietor or faith-based organization, and if you fall within those two, yes, you're eligible to apply. But let's say if you're running your business as as any other entity besides those two, you would not be eligible, because if you're not registered, that means the state does not recognize your entity here in the state. And if the state does not recognize your entity, we cannot we cannot grant you any public funds.
Okay. And specifically, this is Montgomery County resident. So if I live in Frederick, I wouldn't be able to qualify, even though my business is in Montgomery County. How about if my business is in Montgomery County, but I live in Frederick? Does that affect? And I'm a sole proprietor.
Yes. So if your principal place of business is Montgomery County, you are eligible no matter where you live. If 50% of your employees work in Montgomery County, you are eligible no matter where you live.
All right. Yeah, so keep those questions coming in. We still have time on the clock. And let me see, I think there's a question coming in. Is there a hotline? That's a good question. Is there a hotline to check for your application status?
All right, so if you pull up the website again, and I want to show you something on the right-hand side. if you pull up the website, is the website up?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go all the way up, there you go. That's fine. We have an area where it says organizations offering assistance. If you click on that, it shows you we have all these organizations that are ready to help our nonprofits, individuals, and our businesses to fill out the application. So if you have any questions or you want clarity on something, please reach out to any of those listed organizations that would help you. The good thing about those organizations is that they also have language capacity. So in other words, if you need help in French, you can get someone to speak French and help you with your application. If you need help with with Amharic, there will be somebody there who speaks Amharic who will be able to help you.
All right, that's a good question. And I also saw, since we're all not supposed to be moving around and most businesses are closed, email. I saw a lot of those organizations have their email address listed. So in addition to the hotline, because you may be sitting there for hours waiting for someone to pick up your phone, your call, you can also send them an email to get some of your questions answered.
That is so. In fact, that was what we were thinking about when we decided to recruit a diverse range of organizations, but also a diverse method by which you can contact them, because we know that many of the hotlines right now they're not hot anymore, because they're like music stations now, right? You have to sit down and listen to all the music. But what we've done is put together a robust, experts in those organizations that are able to help people. So if you try one, it doesn't work, most likely by the time you get down to the last one, you will hear back from someone.
All right, so you guys are doing a very good job trying to make sure that you reach as many people and as many businesses as possible. And after this call, is this, can they watch this? I guess that's on Afrique TV. You can always visit Afrique TV, and I'm sure they have their archives on there to watch another show, to share it with a friend. Don't just keep this information to yourself. Share it with as many people as you know, because a lot of people are not getting paid. Especially, it's hard being an entrepreneur because your livelihood depends on things moving and people being out and about. So our hearts go out to you, and we have these resources that Daniel has been talking about. So again, go onto our Twitter page at IMISERV. Send in your questions on our Facebook page. Let's see if there are any more questions coming in. Okay. All right. So I'll ask another question, and you may have addressed it when you spoke about the whole program. Is there a minimum amount that you can apply for, and is there a maximum amount that you can apply for?
So that's a good question. But basically, the way the program is designed, we will determine eligibility, and then we will then assess in terms of how much you are eligible for. The way the legislation was written is that no matter how much you're eligible for, the maximum that any one entity can receive is $75,000, and then an additional $2,500. So, which means that once we've done the analysis in the back end, in terms of how much first of all, if you're eligible, and then how much you're eligible for, then we will be the one to reach out to you and tell you exactly how much you've been awarded.
Okay. And once I'm eligible, I've applied and everything, is the money sent to me via check, direct deposit? What are the payment options to receive those funds?
That is a great question. So once we've determined eligibility and the amount, then someone in our fulfillment team will call the sole proprietor, independent contractor, the nonprofit, or the business. And then if they are already not registered in our CVRS system, that's the county's central vendor registration system, then they will guide them to ensure that they are registered. And in that registration process, they will submit their ACH information that would enable the county to deposit the money into their business account or their nonprofit account.
All right, and this is another question coming in. I know some people are joining in late, but we will repeat the question. So this person is asking, they are sole proprietor. They started their business in 2019, and it's just them, because it's a sole proprietor. Does this do they qualify for the grant for their own?
Yes, they are. If they're based in Montgomery County, which is their principal place of business. And also if they have incurred a significant loss in revenues.
Okay. And significant loss in revenue. We want to really break it down, Daniel. Can you really explain what significant loss in revenue means?
Absolutely. So we've determined significant loss in revenue to be 50% or greater loss in revenues. So what does that mean? It means that we take the 2-year history, financial history, and that's what we're asking for, 2 years financials. So we look at,
but remember,
go ahead.
Daniel just started in 2019. So they don't have 2 years worth of history. And we want to define significant loss for them.
So then we'll take the 2019 taxes, and then we will look at the January financials, it could, or P&L, profit and loss statement. Then we will look at the February P&L statement, and then we'll look at the March P&L statement. So what that would give us, we can average those out, and now we have a baseline in terms of your monthly gross revenues. And then in March, we will see basically that decline because many business interruptions took place in March. So we would see the whole of fiscal year 2019, well, the year 2019, we'll see all your monthly transactions in terms of gross revenues. And then we'll also see January 2020, February 2020, and then March 2020. That has given us a total, of 15 months of financial history. And then when we look at March, we'll see that dip. If that dip, for example, let me add some numbers. This is just for an example. Let's say when we do the average, it averages out that you've been making, let's say, $10,000 a month on an average. But then we come to March and we saw that you only made $5,000 in March. That's a 50% decline in revenues.
Okay.
And so that automatically will count towards your eligibility. That would make you eligible because you've met the one criteria, which is a significant decline in revenues.
All right. And this person is asking, again, some of them are repetition, but that's okay because people are joining in. That's good. This person is saying they have not filed their 2019. Can you use their 2018 and their 2019 bank statements and also their 2020 bank statements, I guess, for the month of January, February, and part of March? Will I need more info than these? My business is older than 2 years. So if their business is older than 2 years, that is amazing because we can now, they can provide me with the not only 2018 taxes, but the 2017 taxes. And then in addition to those 2 years, they can also provide the January, February, and March interim financials. Okay. All right. Those are good questions, people. And if you're joining us, welcome to the program. We have Daniel Koroma here. He's the business liaison officer of Montgomery County. We have a lot of information that's available on the website. And Daniel, if you can repeat the Montgomery County website and the Montgomery County Business Portal website, because we have new people who are coming in and we want to make sure that they also have as much information as possible.
Absolutely. I think you guys should share the website on the chat function so that people will be able to click on it and go there live.
Yeah.
But the Biz portal is montgomerycountymd.gov/biz. And if you bring up the website again, you should be able to see the entire URL for this for the grant program we're discussing right now.
There's another question. It says, what about NGOs working in Montgomery County but working internationally? Do they qualify?
That's a good question. No, your principal place of business has to be in Montgomery County. Now, if you do if you do international work, so we basically have to look at your revenue, and yeah, so we have to look at your revenues. So if you're based here in Montgomery County, you are eligible, no matter where your work is, because we look at revenues. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so it's all about, so your business, even though your business is registered in Montgomery County, but because your operations are overseas, you would not qualify. Is that correct?
That no, we look at your revenues. So this is purely revenues. That's right. So if you're once your principal place of business is Montgomery County, it doesn't matter where you're doing your operations. It could be in Montgomery County or outside of Montgomery County, because the determinant for the eligibility is the decline in revenues, right?
Okay.
So yeah. So if your business, because we have international businesses also that are here, not only NGOs, right? So if you're based in Montgomery County, and no matter where you do business, once you've seen a significant decline in revenues, you are eligible to apply.
Okay. And another question, I guess everyone in every type of business is just trying to get clarification. Will family childcare providers be eligible for these small businesses' financial support?
Absolutely. And the answer is yes, absolutely yes. In fact, we've received so many inquiry from childcare providers, home-based providers, home-based childcare providers. So yes, most of them are sole proprietors. So don't get worried about the legal entity registration piece. Just file and provide your Schedule C on your personal taxes. We don't need the entire personal taxes. We only need the Schedule C from your personal taxes, because that's how we'll determine, the historic monthly revenues, but also we can also look at the decline in revenues in March.
Here's another good question, Daniel. Are locally owned franchises of a national retail eligible? Say, for example, I have my McDonald's at the corner of 355 and Christopher Avenue.
Sure.
Do I qualify?
That's a great question. So there are two answers to that, and I want to be very clear. The first answer is no, if that store is owned by the franchise. If it's a franchise store, if it's a corporate store, then it's no. However, if the franchise is owned, if the store is owned by a local entity, right, that is not a corporate entity. So the answer to that would be yes. An example to that would be, again, the McDonald's or 7-Elevens in Montgomery County. Majority of the 7-Elevens are owned by individuals. So those individuals, if they see a decline in revenues, they're eligible to apply. However, let's say a McDonald's that is owned by the corporation itself, they are not eligible to apply.
Okay. And here's another question. I'm not sure. Are there any restrictions to the industry?
No, the legislation did not restrict any industry, but there were preferences that were made for certain industries. So if you are a restaurant or retail storefront, then there are 25% of the entire 20 million, which is 5 million, is set aside for restaurant and retail storefront.
Okay. Here's another question. I have no social security number. Can I apply?
Well, remember, this is for businesses, right? So your business has to be registered if you're not a sole proprietor or faith-based organization. And registered businesses have tax ID number, right? The EIN numbers. So if, again, we're not looking at the individuals, we're looking at the business. This program was set up to assist businesses, which includes nonprofit and for-profit businesses and independent contractors and sole proprietors. So again, except if you're a sole proprietor or except if you're a faith-based organization, your business that is registered should have an employee identification number, and that's basically what you will provide when you're providing the information about the legal entity that you're submitting to us.
All right, maybe I'm going to help this viewer a bit more. So this person will be a sole proprietor, I'm assuming, but they have no social security number.
So if they're sole proprietors, the idea is that would be like how they've been paying taxes, because all businesses have to pay taxes.
All right, I guess that answers you.
That's correct. I mean,
interpret your viewer. If I don't interpret your question, maybe you can try to type it out again, and we can, while we have Daniel on the line. We still have 15 minutes, people, so go to our Twitter and Facebook page. The handle is at Imiserve. It's at IMMERSEVE. I hope I got that right. Imiserve. You can drop in your questions there. And you can also go onto montgomerycountymd.gov website, and you can type in the Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant just to get more information. And the good thing for those just joining us, English may not be your first language. As Daniel has said throughout his this talk, we have different languages in Amharic, English, French, Korean, Mandarin, Spanish, Vietnamese, so that you can interpret the law based on your own understanding. So it's very good that the county is able to do that. And maybe you can just give us a brief history, because other people may not be aware how fully invested Montgomery County is to entrepreneurs. Can you give us some of those stats, Daniel, on businesses that are owned in Montgomery County, even women-owned businesses, just to show the significant impact of COVID-19? I know you like dropping those facts, so maybe you can share that with us.
Absolutely. So I always say that small business is big business in Montgomery County, and the reason for that is because 95% of all our businesses in the county have fewer than 20 employees. So can you imagine that 95% of all the businesses in Montgomery County, right, have fewer than 20 employees, right? So, and of course,
businesses are qualifying for PHEG grant.
The what?
So 95% of the businesses would qualify for this grant.
Yeah, but remember, the determinant is that have they incurred a significant loss in revenue? So true. Even though you're a small business, but some businesses are still, in operations, right? That's right. So if you have not incurred a significant loss in revenue, then you will not be eligible. But indeed, I mean, and we thank God not all the businesses in Montgomery County have incurred a significant loss in revenue. So yes, but I just want to say, I mean, small business is big business, because when you have 95% of all businesses have fewer than 20 employees, that is a big deal, right? So let me drop the numbers on women, right? So and Montgomery County is #1 in the entire state when it comes to women businesses, right? And then 47% of businesses in Montgomery County are owned by women. Now, this is another big one. Can you imagine that? 45,000 people are employed by women-owned businesses in Montgomery County.
Wow.
Exactly. So that's why small business is big business in Montgomery County.
That's amazing. Yeah, so it's really important. And, these are your tax dollars at work, which is why it's important to pay your taxes, because when things like this happen, the county always has money to help out in situations like this. Let's see if we have any questions. Just bringing those questions in at Imiserve, Twitter handle and Facebook handle. If you have any questions for Daniel.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to be with us. Please, it was this very amazing show. Thank you so much, everyone. I want to remember everyone, the people who just joined us, that you just watching Afrique Today, and this was a very amazing conversation, and we will do this conversation like all the time here on Afrique Today. Please download Afrique Today application. Also, you can be able just to watch this show on Roku TV or Amazon feisty. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay tuned. At 7:15, we will start another show. Now I will give a last word to people live now. If you have something to say, please say something, please.
Daniel, you want to go
Daniel?
first?
Sure. I mean, I just want to thank all of you for helping us to get the word out. Again, for the folks watching this, I encourage you, if you are in Montgomery County, if you're a sole proprietor, if you are a nonprofit, if you are a business, please apply for this public health emergency grant. We're trying to make sure that as many nonprofits, sole proprietors, and businesses that apply, that we're able to grant them some funds. We know these are difficult times for businesses and nonprofits, but in our own little way, the county government, thanks to the county council and our county executive, they've really done a great job to make sure that they meet our residents, but also our businesses and nonprofits, somewhere where they could be able to pay some of their utilities and pay some of their bills. So thank you guys so much again for getting the word out. And please, at any time you guys need me, just let me know. I will come and give updates on this.
It's been a thank you so much, and we want to thank Wafamba Water Consulting, Afrique Today. We thank you, Elaine, and we want to thank EmergencyGrant for this great show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Like I say, just download the Afrique Today app, and we will take a little bit break because we have another show coming now just here on Afrique Today. We will take a little bit break, and when we will come back after the break, we will take another show. Just take a break and see you after the break. Thank you. Stay tuned.